Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you another misunderstood movie review. Today, I'm taking a look at the 2009 Terminator film, Terminator Salvation. The film is directed by MCG or McG, and it stars Christian Bale, Sam Worthington, the late Anton Yelchin, and Helena Bonham Carter. Now, for those, because I don't upload an awful lot of these, my misunderstood movie reviews, essentially, I focus on movies that, for whatever reason, weren't particularly well received at the time. Either they were box office failures, or they were critically hammered by reviewers and audience members. But films that I actually feel deserve a second pair of eyes on them or a second chance sort of thing, because I actually don't think they're as bad as people say. And one of those films for me certainly is Terminator Salvation, especially when you consider the latest entries into the franchise that me personally I don't massively dislike. You know, the Terminator Genesis and all that kind of stuff, and the new, and Dark Fate. I understand people's criticisms of them. I understand why people don't like them, but you know, I can click my brain off and get some kind of enjoyment out of them. Personally, my least favourite Terminator film is Terminator 3, and that's just me. But I remember when this came out in 2009, I remember going to the cinema to watch this and really having quite a good time. I thought this film was actually quite good. There are things in it that don't necessarily work completely, but on the whole, I think for me it was a really entertaining entry into the franchise, and it gave fans of this franchise what we've been asking for many, many years, and that's a look at this future war. What does this war between man and machines look like? And we get a taste of that in this film, and I personally liked the way most of that was presented. I think they also did a very clever thing here in the casting for this film. They cast Christian Bale as John Connor, who was red hot at the time after, obviously, the Batman films. He was, you know, the person to cast, essentially, in Hollywood. And I thought that was smart casting. Do I think he nailed the role of John Connor? I think there's a debate to be had with that. I personally thought it was a little bit too brooding, but you know, he's still pretty decent in the role, and it's the most fleshed out John Connor role we've ever had. And then obviously they cast Sam Worthington, who again was red hot at the time due to Avatar, and I believe it was James Cameron that suggested him for the role in this film. At least I think so. So he was red hot, obviously, with Avatar, and then the Clash of the Titans films. I mean, he was hot property at the time, Sam Worthington. So they did some smart casting there, casting like, you know, I know Christian Bale wasn't new on the scene. He'd been going, certainly, since a child actor, and you know, he'd been known since American Psycho, big time, really. But Batman really blew him up into the stratosphere, and then The Dark Knight, and then, you know, he just kept getting cast in franchises and stuff like that. He was a big, big star. It still is. And then we got Anton Yelchin, the late, great Anton Yelchin, who obviously was taken from us far too soon, who was cast as Kyle Reese. At the time, I didn't necessarily agree with the casting. I don't know, it just didn't necessarily project the character of Kyle Reese as well as Michael Biehn did in the first film, but it's certainly a damn sight better casting than what we got in Terminator Genesis. That's for damn sure in regards to Kyle Reese. And then we also have as well here Bryce Dallas Howard, who was completely wasted in this film, unfortunately. She played John Connor's wife, and she just gets nothing interesting to do in this film at all. There's other names and faces that you'll recognise in this film. You've got Common, you've got the great Michael Ironside, as well as some others. But those are the real characters here. Now, one of the things I really did like in this film is how some of these machines were presented. I think some of them were really quite creative. I loved the way the T600s looked. They just looked like tanks with skin hanging off them. They looked really, really intimidating and quite frightening. I remember the first time I saw them, and I saw some of the other ideas for some of the machines. You know, we got the hunter killers, but we got other huge machines that we'd never seen before that looked really impressive. And we got them bikes, sort of thing. So we got to see other machines as well in this film, and for the most part, they all generally worked. Um, I thought the action here worked for the most part as well. I thought there was some very impressive action. And in particular, I think that chase sequence was very, very good. On like the highway sort of thing, I thought that was really, really good. And I really enjoyed like the ending here as well. You know, where both he and Marcus go to Skynet. And then we meet the CGI Arnie, if you like, the new creation, the T800s. Now, say what you will about, you know, how the CGI looked in this film, certainly for the Arnie. I remember at the cinema watching this, and I wasn't expecting it. And then we got that CGI Arnie, and, you know, I almost jumped out of the seat with excitement. I know it doesn't look brilliant today, and I think they made a smart choice by kind of getting the skin off it very quickly. So it was just like a huge machine that they were both battling by the end. But I just thought it added an extra layer of excitement to the film. That's just my personal opinion. And the whole concept of this Marcus character, I thought they could have done a better job of I'm not sure explaining him, or, you know, it does work and you do get the answers at the end from Skynet as to why he was created, and it does make absolute sense because you're kind of like, oh yeah, he's done all that and he's not aware of what he's done. So it was a kind of a smart decision by Skynet to create Marcus the way it created Marcus. I don't know. If I'm going to be brutally honest here, Sam Worthington, I've never really been a huge fan of. I just don't think he's got a great deal of charisma. He just doesn't project like leading man to me. Never has. Even though he's decent in some films, and I think he's decent in this film. I think the mistake they made here in this film is that they cast two actors who kind of projected the same performances for each of their roles. So you've got Christian Bale doing quite a brooding John Connor, and then you've got Sam Worthington doing quite a brooding Marcus. And it's almost like they're doubling down on the brooding. So I don't know. I think maybe different casting for the Marcus character may have helped the movie a little bit more. But I've always thought this film got a little bit of a raw deal, because genuinely, you know, I've rewatched it for this review, and it's probably a good 5 years, maybe longer, since I last saw this film. And honestly, for me, it's probably the arguably right up there with, you know, well, I've never really ranked the Terminator films, and I'm trying to do it quickly, and it's not going to work, is it? Because I've got to put a bit more thought into that. But I certainly think it's better than Terminator 3. And because I don't despise the newest Terminator films, I probably want to think quite hard about where it would sit in regards to those two films. But obviously it doesn't come close to the first two. That is a given. So I do think Terminator Salvation is a misunderstood movie. I do think it sits quite tidily into the franchise now. Because it's got a different feel and look to the film. It does kind of stand out in the franchise. There's none of this time traveling stuff going on in it. It does set things up quite nicely. Some great action going on in the film, and it's a fun film to watch as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this misunderstood movie review. I hope it's made you want to rewatch the film, maybe give it another chance. But please don't forget to call back on my channel for plenty more content very, very soon.